Week 4 of the NFL season just ended, and that means it is time for my Week 5 NFL Power Rankings, in which I tell you my top 10 teams in the NFL. At number 10 is the Washington Commanders. This is a really big shock to me personally and to a lot of people across the country. I did not think Washington would be good at all. Last year they traded away several of their best defensive players, and yet somehow here they are at 3-1. Jaden Daniels has looked historic, passing the ball and running the ball as the rookie quarterback for Washington. It really seems like they may have found their new franchise quarterback. Of course, we are just 4 weeks in, so I'm not going to go too deep into praising him. And the Commanders have had weak competition, but they have looked excellent, blowing out their last few opponents. I thought they would lose to the Cardinals this week, and they won 42-14. So it's time for me to start giving Washington some respect. They deserve it, so they will get it. Number 10 in the power rankings, and who knows, maybe they'll win the NFC East this year. At number 9 is the Seattle Seahawks. They are 3-1. A lot of people may think they should be higher in these rankings. They did barely lose to the Lions. But, in my opinion, watching their games, they just don't impress me that much. They've barely beaten a handful of bad teams this season, including the Patriots game that came all the way down to the wire, and the Patriots are terrible. Geno Smith is good. He's fine. The defense is nothing special. They have good wide receivers. And now that Kenny Walker's back, he is a really good running back. But there's just something about this Seahawks team that doesn't impress me. And until they start beating some real teams, they're not going to be that high in my rankings. But of course, have to give them some respect. Put them at number 9. At number 8, this team also had its first loss of the year, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 3-1. They barely lost to the Colts, but that was a Colts that had their quarterback injured in the first half of the game. In the first half, with Anthony Richardson, they were driving all the way down the field with ease. 14-0 in the first quarter, 17-3 in the first half. The Colts kind of fell apart a little bit with that injury, and then Jonathan Taylor got injured as well. And the Steelers' offense did show some promise, putting up 24 points, which is a lot for them. But a team showing that they can score almost 30 points on the Steelers' defense kind of lessens their shine a little bit. So I had to lower the Steelers down to number 8. Hopefully they'll get a win next week, but we'll see if this defense gets back to what we're used to. At number 7 is the Houston Texans. They almost had a disastrous loss to a terrible Jaguars team. They had a last-second touchdown drive to win 24-20. They are putting up wins. They're 3-1, of course. But it does not seem like they're playing to their full potential on offense. They have so many weapons. They have a great quarterback. They should be putting up more than 24 points on the Jaguars. So I can't have them in the top 5. They're just not meeting the potential, but solid team. So, number 7. At number 6, this is a team where you can see that I'm not just purely going based on record. If I were just going on record, it would be really easy. But that is the Baltimore Ravens. They are 2-2, but they've looked excellent the past 2 weeks. The past 2 weeks they've looked like maybe even the best team in the NFL. Arguably. In week 2, I don't know what happened, how they lost to the Raiders. And then in week 1, they were a toe away from beating the Chiefs. I know they're 2-2, but I don't think you can tell me that they're not one of the 6 best teams in the NFL right now with the serious look on your face. Now, I'm not saying all matchups are great. For example, if the Steelers played the Ravens, I actually think the Steelers might win because the in division knows how to play defense against Lamar. But since I'm not going on a matchup basis, I'm just going overall power rankings, they have to be at number 6. At number 5 is the Buccaneers. They thoroughly dominated the Eagles. It was a very sad watch as an Eagles fan, but have to give them some respect. 3-1, a win over the Eagles and a win over the Lions. Those are two teams that people thought could be Super Bowl contenders to start the year off, and still think that, at least with the Lions. Baker Mayfield has looked very efficient, has looked as good as he ever has. Their running back duo is effective. It's not excellent, they don't have an all-star, but it's good enough. And finally, their defense showed up. They had 6 sacks on Jalen Hurts after only having 2 sacks the rest of the year. We'll see if they can keep this up as well. A lot of these teams is kind of like a, hey, we'll see if this keeps going well or not. At number 4 is the Buffalo Bills. So going into this week, they were the hottest team in the NFL. And then the Ravens just slapped them around and treated them like garbage, because that's how good the Ravens are right now. The Bills dominated each of their first 3 games. Josh Allen has looked excellent. Their defense has looked excellent, even without a lot of the stars that they've had in the past, on offense and on defense. They were number 2 in my rankings last week, number 1 in a lot of people's rankings last week, but after a blowout loss 10-35 to the Ravens, they had to fall a little bit. But I'm not going to let one bad loss throw it all away from the Bills. They look too good the rest of the season. That's why I have them at number 4. At number 3 is the Detroit Lions. Their one loss, of course, is to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3-0. Other than that, they won a thrilling game against the Seahawks, very high scoring. And I think they're just as good as they were last year. They have mainly the same players. They have the best running back duo in the NFL. Their passing game hasn't actually been perfect, even though Jared Goff was 18 for 18 on Monday night. I think, given some time, Amon-Ra St. Brown will kind of pick it up. He's had a quiet year so far this year. I don't see any reason why him and Jared Goff won't connect more and make a more high-paced offense, even though they did just score 42 points this week. The Lions could easily win the NFC North and even win the Super Bowl this year. At number 2, another NFC North team, is the Minnesota Vikings, arguably the best team in the NFL this year, definitely the most surprising team in the NFL this year. Sam Darnold has looked very good. Justin Jefferson, of course, looks very good. Their running game is solid, and most importantly, their defense has looked excellent this year. They were blowing out the Packers until the Packers almost came back in garbage time, putting up 22 points in the fourth quarter, ending it 29-31. So we do know the Vikings offense appears to be legitimate, putting up 31 points on a good Packers defense, and their defense has been impressive so far this year. The one question I have with the Vikings is, was that fourth quarter against the Packers just prevent defense doing what prevent defense does, of course preventing you from winning by giving up a lot of yards, giving up 22 points in one quarter, or did someone finally figure out the Vikings through 4 weeks? We'll find out next week. However, I think the Vikings are going to keep on winning for a little bit because they have looked very impressive on both sides of the ball. Then finally, at number 1, I've said it this whole year, and I will continue to stick with it, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them at number 1 until they lose a game. They are the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They have the best quarterback in the NFL, best defensive lineman in the NFL, best tight end. Maybe not anymore. Maybe not best tight end anymore. And they have the best head coach in the NFL. That's all you need to win a lot of games. Clearly they're 4-0, even though each game has been really close. Of course, Rashee Rice did get hurt by Mahomes taking him out, and this is a brutal blow to the Chiefs. However, Kelsey did step up, and I just have blind faith that Patrick Mahomes will find a way to put up 20 points while their defense keeps the other team to 14 and they'll just win a lot of games like that. Not a lot of blowouts, but a lot of wins, and in the playoffs, you don't want to see them. So anyways, that's my rankings. What are your thoughts on them? Leave your rankings down below. Like, subscribe for more NFL content, and comment in the comment section. Bye.